I would like to believe there's a huge demand for psychologists in Eswatini. Huge demand. So, and also another thing is in Eswatini, we only have one psychiatric referral hospital that looks into the whole country, and there's only one clinical psychologist there.
Sure.
So it's very difficult for people to get the mental health help that they need. So
Sure.
there's a huge gap.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited. At least now we have crossed the borders today. I'm in Eswatini with the clinical psychologist. She will introduce herself and who she is, where she comes from, and what she does. Tema, welcome and thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time. Just briefly, can you just give the viewers just your quick background of who you are and what are you currently doing? Over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. So my name is Dema Vlane Wagamota. I am a clinical psychologist by profession, like you mentioned. I'm originally from Eswatini, formerly known as Swaziland, and that's where I have my private practice as well. So brief background, I'm from Ekaya, Sistegi, and then I live in Eswatini, so in a town called Eswatini, but I'm from Stegi, rural areas. My home is at Stegi.
Okay, no, awesome. I don't know Steaky, but I know Ezuluni, I know it. I had my marriage actually at Ezuluni Hotel. So I know that
Oh, nice.
place, yeah. In Swaziland, they call me Sbali. I don't know who you refer to. So I know there is Uluni Hotel. Yeah, and actually I saw your practice is actually next to the Checkers, next to Spa at Mbabane. You have a practice there, the Checkers Center.
So so I only see clients there. Yeah. So that one I only go on specific days, but mostly I'm in Manzini. I don't know if you know a town called Manzini. I'm mostly
That is
in Manzini.
Manzini. Yes, Manzini. I know Manzini very well.
Yeah, so my practice is there, but I only see because I have clientele in Babane as well. So I have to get space to see those. But my practice is in Manzini. That's
Okay,
where I spend most of my time.
okay. So, but
Yeah.
there you only go to Mbabane when you have clients.
Yeah, a specific day. So I only go there on Thursdays.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, look, man, I had two colleagues when I was doing my masters, and in psychology from Swaziland. And at that point, I understood it was very difficult to become a psychologist from Swaziland. Maybe just a quick background for somebody watching. How does one become a psychologist? What is the study path? And maybe sharing yours will help us understand what is the path that one can follow.
Okay. I think it's very similar to the South African one, where you have to do your undergrad. So for me, I did my undergrad in psychology. So I did a general psychology degree. And I did it here in Eswatini, in a university called Eswatini Medical Christian University. And then from there, I went to do my master's. So the degree was a 4-year degree. That's why I didn't have to do my honors, because I think in
Oh,
South
yes,
Africa
yes,
you
yes.
do
Yeah,
3 years
it
and
comes
then
with an
you do honors.
honors.
Yes, so the degree is
Okay.
a 4-year degree, so it comes with the honors. So
Oh,
from that 4-year degree, I went to do my master's in the US. So it was a 2-year master's degree with an internship, a year-long internship, and also we did some summer placements as well. So it's more or less the same. And then when coming back, I had to just go through SAQA, where I had to get my results evaluated. And
Okay.
then from there I applied with, we have our own professional body. It's called the Eswatini Medical and Dental Council,
Okay.
where all medical professionals are evaluated there to see, do you have all the things that you need? Have you done your internship? Have you done everything? And then you get the license to say, okay, now you can practice as a clinical psychologist or whatever discipline of psychology that you're in.
Oh, okay. Awesome. And tell me, so the degree that you did at Swaziland, is it like a degree in psychology? What was it in?
Yes, it was a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology.
Okay. And does Swaziland have a master's in psychology?
No, not at the moment, no. We only have the degree, yeah.
So if anybody wants to be a psychologist now in Swaziland, you can only do it outside the Eswatini, basically.
Yes, you can
Okay.
do it outside. At first, I'm not too sure what's happening now, but before, they were not taking even the online. So if maybe you did your master's online, it was very hard to register with the Eswatini Medical and Dental Council because you needed to have been full time at the
Yes.
university. That's one of the requirements.
Okay. It makes sense
Yeah.
because you need to do the practicals. Okay. So you
Mm.
did your 4-year degree there and you went to the United States of America and did your master's. Was your master's 2 years or was it 1 year and then internship 1 year? Or was it 2 years then internship 1 year?
So it was co-occurring. So my internship and my master's was happening at the same time. It was a 2-year master's degree, and then my internship I started to do second year. So I'd have classes on certain days, but I'd have to go for my internship every day.
Yo, that's hectic.
Yeah, it was because at the end of the day we needed to finish in the 2 years within
All right.
that time frame.
Okay.
Yeah,
So from the first day you start with your master's, the internship also started.
it started in the second year.
Oh, in the second year. Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I get that. I get that. Well, I think it's more similar because back then we used to have a master's being a 2-year program. Now it's 1 year. You still have others who have it as a part time where it's 2 years, but
Okay.
ultimately 1 year one can be done, and then the second year they do the internship. So,
Okay.
and I think that actually talks to move towards just a 1 year master's in all the program and then go to internship. I think they
Internship.
did that in order to reduce the workload. And I
Yeah,
see now,
because
yeah, no, please continue.
sorry, I was just saying, yeah, it was a lot for me. Just looking back, that I had to do my internship and I had to still go to class at the same time for my second year of
Mm.
masters. So it was very challenging. So I think I understand that workload reduction. It would be great. It would be
Yeah.
great.
And I saw when you finish your masters and your internship, you were employed as a counselor at the clinic there at the one hospital.
Yes, at the counseling clinic at the university that I was in. Yes, I
Yeah.
was working there.
Was it immediately after your internship? Was it an employment or was that an extension of the internship?
It was so I did my internship there, then they extended it.
Oh, I see. And then you worked
Yeah,
as a counselor at the clinic.
yeah.
And how was it? What was the kind of work that you were doing there? Was it were you doing therapy, working with kids? Were you doing rehabilitations? Because I saw in your CV you've got different exposure.
Yeah. So at the counseling clinic, it was only college students. So I was only seeing college students, and I think my caseload was mostly international students. So I think because I was an international student, they felt like all the internationals should come to me, because I mean, we build better rapport that way, that we're both, you know, international students. So we might understand each other more. So there's mostly international students between ages 18 to 30. Yeah. From all over the world. Yeah.
Okay. Before I come back to the Swaziland, I wanted to just understand, how was it? Why did you decide to go to the US in particular? Was it a particular reason why you chose them? Why not South Africa? Why not China? Why not other places? Why US in particular?
Yeah. I feel like when I finished undergrad, I knew I wanted to travel. So I wanted to find you know, a different place to go to do my master's. So then I applied for the Fulbright scholarship. And then I got it, and I was in the US.
Okay, okay. No, it makes.
Yeah.
And how was it living in the US? For us, we've always been South Africa bound. And those
And
Swaziland didn't want to cross the border. How did life there? Was the Fulbright covering everything? Your tuition, accommodation, living allowance, and everything?
yeah,
Wow.
everything, insurance,
Wow.
flights, they covered everything for me. And it was a lovely experience. I think, yeah, it was one of those experiences I'll probably never forget.
Mm,
Different background, meeting new people, and realizing that, you know, with psychology, especially because I had this fear of I'm studying psychology in a different country. What's going to happen when I go back, you know, to my
mm,
country? And it's a
mm,
whole different kind of setting. But I just
mm,
realized that psychology, it's not really about the problem. It's about how
mm,
are we fixing the problem. So the way we do it is the same
mm,
in terms of maybe, what can I say, the theories. It's one theory that we use. You use it in all different settings. So there's not like, just because I did my master's in the US and then I now can't help people in an Eswatini based context.
mm.
I realized that it doesn't work that
I
way, I
get you.
think,
I
for
get
me.
you. Yeah. And tell me about getting into that masters. Usually, and it's a global issue. To get into masters, it's very challenging. I mean, there are interviews. There's a selection week. In your process, did you have to follow that, or do they follow a different selection process?
Yeah, it's the same. You have to write a personal statement. You have to go through the GRE. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the GRE. So it's basically SAT, but for grad school. So
Okay.
where they do like tests to see like where your strengths
Yes,
and
aptitude test.
where your weaknesses.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically some form of aptitude test, and all master's level students in the US have to go through it in order
Okay.
to be admitted. So we have to go through that. I had to go through TOEFL to see if my English is good.
Yes, I saw. Yeah, I
That
saw
was
here.
another requirement.
Okay.
Yeah, and then lastly, we had to create personal statements and study objectives that, okay, why do you want to study this? What is it going to do for you? And also a personal statement, basically your life story and how you ended, yeah, and why you want to do psychology.
You did not have to go to do any interviews.
No, not for me. I know some did have to do them, but my university didn't require that for me. But for others, it is a requirement.
Okay, I get it. When you say others, you mean like other institutes?
Yeah, like other people that went to master's programs in the US had to go through that selection, the interview, and all. I
Okay.
didn't have to. Yeah.
Okay. And tell me, it's a. I mean, masters is hectic in South Africa, and I'm sure across the globe. How was your experience of the masters in the US?
Tough. I think it was the toughest experience I've ever had to go through. I think you
Wow.
need to be strong-willed. You need to know what you want, because if there's like
Sure.
6 of us in class, there's no way you're gonna have slack.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it was a situation where you always had to be on your toes. You always had to read. Like a B was a fail for me. There was no way you'd get a B, because everyone's getting A's in class. All 6 of us were honor students in our class. So there was so much competition. It was so hard. It was so hard.
Wow. So you were 6 in class?
Yeah, there was 6 of us.
Oh, that was intense, eh? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I can imagine. So you finished and then you came back. You mentioned that you had to go through SAQA. Is that the SAQA, the SAQA in South Africa? Why did you have to go through it if you were going to Swaziland?
We don't have our own. So we benchmark in South Africa. Yeah.
So you get your SAQA assessment and you take it to Swaziland for them to assess where they can place you.
So more than anything, I think the evaluation is to see how many points your master's is worth. Is it the same? Yes, the credits. Is it the same as South Africa? Because we benchmark in South Africa.
I see. Okay, no, it makes a lot of sense then. And so you got that. And tell me, from the time you completed and you worked as a counselor there in the US, hypothetically speaking, let's say you finish in December, how long did it take you to then get registered in Swaziland?
Yeah, a whole year.
Sure. Was the delay on the SAQA side or on the Eswatini Medical and Dental Council?
Okay, I think my case was different. I think let me just state that first. So I applied. So when I came back initially, I put in my paperwork. I applied with the Eswatini Medical and Dental Council. And then 4 months later, they called me to say, we need you to apply for SAQA. We need you to take your paperwork to SAQA so that it can be evaluated. So I was like, okay, great. So I took my work, there, my transcript and everything else that they required of me. And then that took another 3 to 4 months.
Sure.
So then after I had to come back, resubmit, and then it took another 3 to 4 months. Yeah, so I think that's why it took long. But I think more for other people, I think it should take 3 to 4 months average because it's done quarterly.
I see. Okay. No, it makes sense then. And so at Swaziland, you don't have the Health Professions Council for psychologists.
No, we just have the one body that looks into all health professionals.
Medical, yeah. Look, I mean, initially, we had that when we started, but later they had to. We are all under one body called the Health Professions Council in South Africa. But then within it has got different departments. We've got those who look at the dental, medical, and other allied health related fields. So we are still under one body because they are founded by the health department, the policy. So we are all under one, but we have different divisions underneath.
Okay. I think for us, we don't have different divisions. We have just the one body looking out to all the health professions and the allies.
And then
so it becomes.
Okay, please continue.
No, please. You can go ahead. What did you want to say?
And you annually you still have to pay and register with them and renew your membership. Okay.
Yes, and I think it becomes a bit difficult because it's hard to have, for example, a medical doctor looking into a psychologist, whether they are, fit to practice, So it's that one. It's a bit complicated, but now we do have the Eswatini Psychology Association, which works as like a contractor for the Eswatini Medical and Dental Council to help them to say, okay, no, these still need to do ABC. These are good, because before it was just the doctors that were there, and it didn't make sense.
There were no psychologists on the board or the assessment team of that.
Yeah.
Okay. But then how is now that you are there and you have been practicing and you are also lecturing part-time, how is it then working? How's the environment allowing the psychologists to practice and work there in Swaziland?
I would like to believe there's a huge demand for psychologists in
Mm.
Eswatini. Huge demand. The only issue is that there's a lot of people that struggle with in paying. The
Yeah,
issue is the money, it's the paying of the service, but the demand is there. So people that have insurance are able to, have sessions, but people paying cash, it's very hard to start sessions and start paying 800 rand every session, and you're supposed to have like 8 to 9 sessions. It's very hard for people to keep up with that. So, and also another thing is in Eswatini you only have one psychiatric referral hospital that looks into the whole country, and there's only one clinical psychologist there.
sure,
So it's very difficult for people to get the mental health help that they need.
sure.
So there's a huge gap.
Yeah, and I totally agree because I remember I also once considered servicing some people from Swaziland. I think my biggest issue, I noticed that majority of Swazi, they don't have medical aids. It's not as common as here in South Africa. So,
Mm-hmm.
which actually then confirm your issue about the payments. Do you do you know by any chance, uh, psychologists, how many are they in Swaziland? Is it a large number? Is it very few?
It's very few. It's very few. I don't think we are more than 20. Uh,
And this less than 20, do you know the
it's
categories? Because I
clinical.
know educational.
Educational, I only know of one. I don't know
Yeah,
any other educational. And he's also moved to South Africa, so I'm not sure if
is it?
he's still, yeah, there was only one that I knew of. The one he was part of the association, the psychology association, which is how I know him. But he's no
Yeah.
longer in Eswatini as well. So I'm not sure if we have any. I know that I refer my clients to an educational psychologist in Nelspruit because we don't
Yes,
have any in Eswatini.
sure. And do you have other categories like your counseling, industrial?
Yes, we do. We have. I know of one counseling psychologist. I know two industrial psychologists.
Oh,
And that's just about it. And we have a research psychologist as well. Yeah, but we're very small,
so all
so
of
we
that
know,
part of the
we know
20.
each other. No, so the 20 was just the clinical psychologist.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But obviously, I mean, with the lack of psychologists there, probably the other categories don't make 10 the most.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And now having been in the field, for somebody, a child watching from, I mean, wherever in Swaziland and they desire to become a psychologist, will you say it's a path that you recommend for them to follow?
Psychology is great. I love it. I think I'm happy here. I think the only thing that I didn't like about psychology, like by being a mental health professional in general, is that you need to grow up very quickly. Um, I feel like for me, the minute I became a clinical psychologist, there were a lot of things that I needed to know, I needed to learn, I needed to stop doing certain things because firstly, our country is very small. So because our country is very small, we all know each other. So there's certain places that a client will not appreciate seeing you there, for example. So there's just certain things that you need to learn and kind of maneuver around that. Okay, there's certain things that I can't do because, you know, people will not trust me if I am seen doing certain things. So I think the only thing is that you grow up very quickly. You need to be very mature for this profession. It's not a profession that allows you to, yeah, you essentially just need to grow up very fast. I think that's the only thing that I'm seeing in psychology. You just need to grow up very fast. Yeah. And another thing is that people don't see psychologists as human beings. We are seen as this perfect person who has their life in order, who can never be late, who can never forget. You know, the minute you forget, it's such a huge offense to clients. That I just forgot to send you this. And it's like, how are you forgetting? Because you're the perfect one. You have everything, you know, in order. So I think that's the only issue that I have faced, is that people think that we're perfect, and yet we're also still human. The problems that you have, we also have. The only difference is we have the skills. But are we also using the skills on ourselves? That's the question. So,
I don't know,
and I tried.
because you are solving people's problem, yours should be solved.
And it's not the case. Every psychologist I know has a psychologist themselves, because we are also human, you know.
Totally right. Totally right. And any advice to any matriculant grade 12 learner at Eswatini who wants to become a psychologist, or any final year student? What will you advise them? Because I think getting into psychology, most people, they only get to know about it late in the year. Their marks are poor and they just wish, but it never happened. Any advice for such students who might be aspiring? It's the beginning of the year now. What can they do?
They need to make sure that they pass their sciences. I think I remember I needed to have 4 sciences. So they must make sure they have 4 sciences, and they must have passed those sciences in order to be admitted into psychology. And then also for the 4th years or the honor students, I think it's very important to know where you're branching into. Like, psychology is so broad. What are you wanting to do with your degree? Are you wanting to do clinical? Are you wanting to do counseling? Are you wanting to do forensic? Where are you at? So I think that's the most important thing, knowing what you want to do with the degree. Where do you want to, you know, specialize in? Because psychology is very broad. So I think that's the advice that I can give.
Okay, just break it down. You mentioned 4 sciences. What does that mean for some learner somewhere at Nkoyoyo who has no clue what we are talking about?
So maybe, yeah, because I guess I'm talking to Swazi students. I don't know how it goes in South Africa. So for Swazi students, you have to have 4 sciences. By 4 sciences, I mean for you have to have credited maybe biology, physics, chemistry, and another science. Could be geography, could be agriculture, but you need to have those 4 sciences in order for you to qualify for, you know, to be admitted for the undergrad in psychology.
Okay. No, it's understandable. Even kids at Matsapa will be able to hear you and understand what you are saying. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And maybe in closure, how is the practice? How is it business-wise for somebody who wants to open a practice? Is it lucrative? Is it worth it? How will you rate it? Because I see many people congratulating you there on LinkedIn. I'm like, oh, this must be very good. Somebody watching. You've got 2 practices, one in Matsapa, one in Babane.
So I think maybe just to explain how I do things. I have 1 practice. My practice is in Mantini. And then I also I work with the clinic group. So I work with a private hospital in Matapa and also in Mantini. So I have like certain days that I'll go, and would have booked me clients to see, whether inpatient or outpatient. So that's basically how I do things. And then I have my practice where I see all my clients. In terms of being lucrative, I think you need to have an open mind. If you're going into this with the thought that I need to make money and money is the end goal, you won't be happy for a long time. But if you're doing what you love, you're doing it because you love it and it brings you some form of satisfaction, I feel like provision will come.
That's great.
Yeah.
I like that. Provision will come. That's the most important part. So,
Yeah. So
Bulani,
as long as you're walking in your purpose and you are doing what you love to do and you're doing it to the best of your abilities, provision will definitely come.
thank you so much, Dema Bulani, the clinical psychologist. Any last words to any person out there watching this video, aspiring to be a psychologist in Swaziland, or any person out there who still feel consulting a psychologist is for people who are weak, who don't know how to deal with their own issues? Any last words?
I think my last words would be we all of us, even me included, we don't have everything figured out. And I feel like a lot of the time, the minute you voice it out and you talk to someone, there's a whole different outlook and there's so much insight that you get from just voicing out that thing out. So I think it's very important to talk to someone not only when things are bad, also because a lot of the time people will come when it's extremely bad and they have no other option but to see a therapist. But you can just start going to a therapy session just for self-awareness, just to get a picture of who you are, why do you do things a certain way, not necessarily that things are bad and I need to be in therapy. So I think for me, that's what I've seen through practice and also through me going to therapy as well. Is That's what I've seen, that we don't need to be in therapy because things are bad. We also want to hear about the good, because a lot of times clients will also leave because they feel like, okay, things are now okay. But I feel like you need to still come back and convey to us that, okay, this is what I've seen, this is what's going good now. Because we also need that. It's not only about the bad news all the time, the problems, also the good. So I think for me, that's what I can say as last words.
Thank you so much. We don't only consult because we have problems. We can actually even, look at your life. How do you make it even better than it was the previous year? We don't only because things are collapsing. Sometimes we just want a different perspective, to have something to reflect, to look at things from different perspective. So, Dema Bulani, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and what you have shared. I believe many learners, Eswatini, will appreciate this and explore psychology as a career that they can follow. And one day be like you, have a practice and consult and lecture and do all the things that you do. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for having me.